September 1939, the German army invaded Poland and overran the country in record time. 1940, they repeated this act, invading the Low Countries and then France. Soon after, Denmark fell, and then Norway. Britain was only saved the same fate by the courageous actions of the RAF holding off against the Luftwaffe in the First Battle of Britain. With the island nations safe for now, the Führer turned his attention over to the east with his plans for Lebensraum, and in June 1941, German divisions overran Soviet Union positions and pushed into the Russian hinterland, while at the same time the Japanese landed on their eastern coast, taking Vladivostok and tying up all of the Siberian divisions in a bloody war in the east. With the USSR facing a war on two fronts, Army Group Center of the German army pushed straight for Moscow. Barely impeded, they reached Moscow in record time. But a day before Army Group Center reached Moscow, Germany unleashed its final trick. Thousands of Fallschirmjäger dropped on the eastern side of Moscow, enveloping the city in an encirclement and causing the evacuation to turn to chaos. In that chaos, the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin was apprehended alive by Fallschirmjäger troops, and after days of torture, Joseph Stalin gave the order for all Russian forces to lay down their arms. This order was, of course, summarily ignored. However, the damage had been done, with the vast majority of the Russian leadership who had survived Stalin's purges being captured in Moscow or killed in the bombing. Multiple lesser factions arose, claiming leadership of the Soviet Union. This led to the defenders being scattered and disorganized and fighting multiple civil wars. The shattered factions were unable to push back against the German advance and were forced back past the Urals. The few factions that did not accept terms with the German Reich instead were too bitterly divided and fighting amongst one another to put up much of a resistance. The war in the east was all but finished. And then, with the Caucasus oil field secured for the Axis powers, a great convoy of fuel tankers made their way through the newly captured Suez Canal, supplying Japan with all of the fuel it needed, the blood price for their invasion of Siberia. In the United States, the public opinion was that the war had been lost, and that Europe was now under German control. President Roosevelt kept pushing for Lend-Lease to be further and further extended, and arms did reach the beleaguered island nation. However, no troops were sent. The British Empire was on its own to face the Axis powers. And now, as autumn 1944 begins to give way to winter, all eyes turn towards Britain, where the industrial might of the Reich has been pumping out thousands of aircraft, subjecting Britain to a constant bombardment and enacting ever more daring attacks on the Royal Navy, forcing what is left of the once great fleet far to the north. The Channel is now in German hands, and with the Wehrmacht making no secret of the massive troop build-up in northern France, the writing is on the wall. There will be an invasion of Britain. The question is not if, but when the Second Battle of Britain will be fought. The British people now prepare for what is surely going to be the greatest and possibly last battle of the war.